Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having Packful to be part of today. I'm going to take a bit more of your time this morning because the Pacific Center for Flexible and Open Learning for Development is a totally new center, regional center. So I would just like to, it's just a bit more of your time. I would just like to talk more about what the center is and the role and what we're doing now. Okay. Back in June 2013, 17 representatives participated in a consultation meeting to deliberate on establishing the regional center. The 6 participants were from Vanuatu, Tonga, Tuvalu, Samoa, New Zealand, and Fiji. Also included the development partners, New Zealand Aid, AusAid, and some of the organizations like Pacific Media Assistance Scheme and the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. The meeting was held in Samoa, and by the end of the consultation, they had formed an advisory body, which today still includes Professor Jess Chandra, our Vice Chancellor and President, Ms. Crystal Pratt, Deputy Secretary General for Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat, Mr. Hasmukh Lal, Director for Pacific TAFE, Professor Robin McQuiggan, Pro Vice Chancellor for James Cook University, and Mr. Mike Field, Manager for PACMAS. PACFOL's vision and mission are focused on creating worthwhile lives for all Pacific Island communities. In trying to achieve that, we have our vision as an empowering center for Pacific communities. Our mission is capacity building networks within the Pacific. Because of the global shift in knowledge creation, teaching, learning approaches, accredited to the integration of technology into education, it is more relevant today than before for the Pacific community to embrace, adopt, adapt to these global changes. Therefore, we have adopted these values: sustainability, empowerment, innovation, flexibility, and inclusiveness. As a regional center, we see our role as to provide support, initiator, facilitator, mediator for flexible open learning for development in the Pacific region. We have 4 key priority areas. First one is on advocacy, capacity building, regional policy framework, development, and research. We have also created a theory of change statement. And to justify the theory of change statement, we have adopted 3 model frameworks from the Commonwealth of Learning. Working with Dr. Alison Mead, when she came over earlier this year, I sat with her and we discussed on the information that has been gathered throughout the Pacific on trying to address these changes. In addressing challenges facing the Pacific, which we believe to be a result of lack of ODFL knowledge, has contributed towards these problems. PACFOL has developed a problem tree model that identifies a generalized core problem statement which addresses challenges within the Pacific, which can also be remedied with the proper application of ODFL. As such, we have identified a relation in 3 areas. One is a problem tree. You see, with the problem tree, we've identified the immediate causes that leads to the core problems that leads to the immediate effects, which is divided into 2: the economic effects and the social effects. Second is our result-based management framework. This framework has been adopted from the Commonwealth of Learning to assist PACFOL in streamlining its goals and planned achievements. Our results-based management framework, or RBM framework, is to provide us with a clear operational pathway towards developments. And lastly, our logic model. This is also adopted from Commonwealth of Learning to help PACFold to evaluate the effectiveness of the project. Complementing this is a PACFold theory of change. The logic model outlines our theory of change pathway. This is our theory of change, ladies and gentlemen. In the third paragraph, in saying a need to pursue, the need to pursue ODFL is because of the 21st century teaching and learning approach, which is now, we see that is tailor-made for communities around the world which are geographically challenged, like the Pacific. ODFL integrates in very well by allowing a more flexible and accessible approach to quality education. In looking at the regional collaboration on ODFL framework, this is something that we have, that has been part of our initial strategic plan that we will revive this year, try to work towards. The purpose of the regional policy framework is to provide a guide for the other Pacific Island nations on how to develop their own policy on ODL or ODFL. We just returned from a trip from Samoa last week. In meeting with Professor Emma Cruz, she mentioned that Samoa is at the moment trying to develop policy on ODL. They're just using ODL. We've shared this development with them, and they're really looking forward to working with the regional bodies on getting a framework going, and then using that framework as a guide to creating policies around the Pacific. Capacity building on human resources. We have recognized that there is a need to transform, simplify, streamline, engage, and engage with national stakeholders. This recognition is based on the need to understand respective governments' commitments to the development of national ODFL through their respective ministries of education strategic plans. At the moment, what's happening throughout the Pacific with the governments, they're coming up with their strategic plans, their business plans, the annual business plans. They have funding, but they have no idea on how to invest it, where to start. The reason is that because the Pacific at the moment we're just being inundated, overwhelmed by ideas on how to advance ICT in education. As a former Ministry of Education officer here in Fiji, I've also been a big part of developments in OER and ICT in education throughout the whole region, the nation. I've worked very closely with Ian and Dr. Shika, and this is something that we've noticed. We've tried to run projects after projects, trying to work with CALL, trying to get APTIS in. At the very last minute, we lose our budget because the governments do not understand the value of investing in ODFL or upgrading the infrastructures for ICT in education. But something that we've noticed is that, not to reinvent the wheel, the University of South Pacific has been running this program since 1974. I might get the year wrong, but it's in the 70s. But the beauty of that is the University of South Pacific, which is a regional university, is in a place at this moment to help the nations, to help the governments, to be good advisors, good consultants to the governments in developing their programs right throughout the Pacific for their people, for our Pacific community. Because if ODFL has survived, may I say 3 or 4 centuries now, it's just proven that we have educated thousands and thousands of Pacific Islanders who have now moved on to have achieved their life goals, life dreams. That's a huge testimony, if you ask me. But strategically, we need to start with human resource capacity building, which is very important. That may also include upgrading or changing the curriculum for teacher training, putting a bit more oomph or emphasis on the use of ICT in education. PACFOLD has initiated some sort of program like this by first offering last year of flexible skills development. And the course, which is totally free, is about empowering our educators, empowering our stakeholders, getting them to know about how to use ICT or ODFL to be more effective, to get education more accessible. So what the modules that's being provided by the FSD program is flexible and skills development, ICT in education, understanding of OER, talking strategies, recognition of teachers and institutions, change of managers, and their final thoughts. We are hoping to run the second delivery of the course on the 28th of April. And we've just managed to get the best person for it to facilitate, which is Dr. Bebia, and we're really happy that he's on board with it. There's also, what we're doing is research on how effective and the impact of ODFL throughout the Pacific, which we believe is testimony in itself, trying to get the whole region understand how powerful ODFL is, how powerful open education is. Something that came up last week with me while I was in Samoa is that we are setting up large frameworks and policies, infrastructures. We need to look at where this is being filtered, the end result. At the end of whatever we're doing, the whole big picture, it is getting our people, the Pacific community, to access affordable, quality education, full stop. So, research, capacity building, advocacy, getting communities together at whatever levels. We're just trying to have our people access affordable, quality education. These are our planned outcomes for the year. Strengthening Pacific region partnership in learning for sustainable development through one developed ODFL regional framework. We're hoping to begin this with very high level committee, which is going to sit next week on Wednesday, which is going to be chaired by DVC Professor Ko. He's chairing the meet next week. We're hoping to take the first baby steps next week, which is really good for the Pacific. Also, we will be addressing, it's written develop, but we will address ODFL regional quality assurance framework. We will address that and how we can go about approaching that. A framework for national policy on ODFL. The expansion of the PACFOLD Learn. PACFOLD Learn is our virtual environment, virtual platform. What we're doing at the moment is advocacy on PACFOLD Learn. This is where we can have all the partners and stakeholders and groups come in throughout the Pacific. With the meeting with METI, this non-profit organization in Samoa, last week with their CEO, we discussed on reaching out to the communities, their communities, on how to empower their people. They have two missions: healthy living and the environment. Okay, so I told them, this is one way you can reach out, because Samoa, just like any other island nation, we're separated by seas. This is something else that we should keep in mind, that it is unfair to bring programs from third world countries, from Africa and wherever else, and try to make it work in the Pacific, because one, our biggest challenge is that we are separated by sea, not just distance, not just distance over land. No, we're actually separated by sea. So it's either you swim or you paddle, you catch the whole boats. But the fastest way to transfer knowledge, transfer information, get people talking, is through ODFL, open learning. Our virtual center is called Packfold Learn. As a young virtual center in the Pacific, Packfold has established an online community to engage with people of the Pacific and friends of the Pacific as well. The highlights of the virtual center are groups, forums, networks, events, and a link to the flexible skills development offered in the Pacific by Commonwealth of Learning TVSD Moodle. In trying to encourage healthy discourse, knowledge creation, and online collaboration, Packfold has 9 virtual groups: Pacifica First, which is a TVET group, Gender, Open Schooling, ODFL Research, Open Educational Resources, Sustainable Developments, Commonwealth of Learning Focal Points, M-Learning, and a closed group on Packfold Advisory Body. What is unique about this virtual center is that we discuss issues contextualized to the Pacific and the Pacific only, to the Pacific needs and to issues. If there are possibilities that this is a scenario that Samoa or Tonga or Vanuatu or Fiji in that case has knowledge that can benefit another Pacific country, like maybe Papua New Guinea, or this virtual platform, this virtual environment is where we can discuss and share ideas, share knowledge, create new knowledge. That is the purpose of Packfold Learn. And we believe that this is how the future will be like in the Pacific. The integration, collaboration. There was a word that was used during the opening remarks this morning, which is equitable access. Very powerful. Very powerful. I totally believe in that. Very powerful. Equitable access. That's what we need in the Pacific. That's what we need to develop in the Pacific. That everyone, if you're on an island that's slowly being eroded away, or you're living on the seas, you still need to get access to quality education, affordable quality education. It's a very, very powerful statement. The beginning of the year, I researched a phrase, migration with dignity, that was used by, I think he's a former president of Kiribati or Tuvalu. And the problems they're facing with the environment, with the climate change, is awful. They're losing their land. They may save their lives, but they're losing their land. And we know here in the Pacific, land is everything. It's our identity. Okay? So while discussing how we can use ODFL, of the virtual environment, to educate our future people, is to document things today before they get eroded. Document the language, video the land. We call in the Itoke language, we call our land where our ancestors started off from, we call them our yavu, our beginnings. And it's untouched. When you go to the village, it's not touched. And imagine that these islands are getting their yavu washed away into the sea. And we just hope that someone can quickly come up with an initiative to go and video and everything and what it's called what trees, what plants they grew there, what birds that nested there, and have a repository online, and just put everything there. So when they migrate, they go to New Zealand, come to Fiji, go to Australia, their future citizens, their future people will still be able to learn their language, the intonation of their language, their land, how it looked like, okay, and all that. So what we're doing here today is very, very powerful and very important for the Pacific, for the whole region, because we are preparing a platform for the future, for our future generations, to look back and to learn on what we're doing. So we're not just, it's not just about academics. It's also about preserving our cultures and our values, including language. That should also be a part of what we should include in where we're going. Can I just end with this discussion, is that the culture in the Pacific is getting richer. The culture in Fiji is so enriched with multiculturalism. I am sad to note this year that when the indentured labor system, indentured, the celebration, the holiday for that, it was a celebration on the slavery. It was not a celebration of how their culture, how their rich culture enriched the cultures in Fiji. It was about the other dark aspect to it, which shouldn't, I believe it should be mentioned, but should not be celebrated. What should be celebrated is how the cultures have been enriched, has been integrated, has empowered the Pacific. So, the Pacific Center for Flexible and Open Learning for Development is hoping to be part of these developments throughout the Pacific. The proliferation also of ICT in education throughout the Pacific with digital education programs such as Moodle, OER, M-Learning have overwhelmed our Pacific community, specifically knowledge management aspect. The Pacific community needs to work together and consolidate our efforts of accessing quality and affordable education. PACFOLD is ready to work together with the Pacific education, Pacific community. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.